Mostly from you.
There's no filter on that line.
Nope. You want me to start? Or what are we doing? You want to start?
We got 7 minutes. There's 7 minutes. What we can do for 7 minutes? Dancing's later.
Sing.
I think tomorrow.
The Phantom of the Opera.
Gosh.
Why do you have a mic?
Gas mic.
The guest mic.
That needs to be back here.
No, not gas. Guest.
Oh, okay.
Gosh. No, I'm sorry. We do have the fan blowing all the. Yeah. That's your one warning.
One warning to rule them all.
GasCon.
Yeah. Too soon. Too soon. I was just about to go to bed that night.
Yeah.
I laid down naked, and all of a sudden, woo, woo, God, motherfucking no.
I was about to take another drink and like, what? I was about to go dancing.
It was still worth it, though. I'm like, whatever, I'm coming back next year. Still a good con. Do, 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 do.
Hello.
You broke it. You broke it.
Do, do, do,
All right, it's working.
do, 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 do.
I thought I broke it.
Almost broke.
I feel like this is our audience, and I feel like we can just start early.
Yeah, we're probably gonna start.
Instead of late.
Yeah? All right, I'm
right.
starting. Screw this. Okay. Welcome to our panel of furry or relationships within the furry fandom. Reason I wanted to make this panel was because the times we've been together, we've had a lot of people come up to us with, how do you guys make this work, especially when you're furries? So I figured it was fair to kind of share our experience, kind of past experience. Well, my past experience is because I've been his only girlfriend. But I've been through a few people.
I'd say only like serious, not like high school crush type of thing.
Yes.
But definitely
So,
serious.
we'll do questions at the end if anyone has questions for us or, advice for your own relationships. So before I start the little story part, how many of you right now are in a relationship? Nice. How many of you are hoping to gain a relationship someday?
Today.
Or how many of you are just curious about having a significant other someday? Randy! Sit your ass down.
I'm adjusting your pants.
Thank you. So I'll introduce ourselves. I'm Sheila Mayer. This is Poison that I am inside right now. She's my new suit and kind of my favorite. This is Tyzin, the dancing orange dragon that spins on his head.
Rar.
And we've been together since MFF 2009. And he proposed to me last year at GLFC. And we are having our little mini wedding here on Sunday for anyone that's interested. We even bought a sheet cake for everyone to enjoy that just wants to come for cake.
They did give me a weird look when we gave them the picture.
Yeah, he gave him our favorite picture, but it wasn't the edited one, so it has my nipples. And he's like, here, but they're really tiny. You can't even tell unless you squint, but oh well. So whoever wants dibs on the nipples. Oh my goodness! Oh my
There's
goodness!
only 2, I'm sorry.
Lever, you can make it. We still have 2.
We're going to have to split one. There's 2, yeah.
So I'm going to share with you guys, I'll break it down a lot, but the story about how we met. At the time, I was already dating somebody, but I knew it was one of those things where you're just like, when I date somebody, I think about the future, my future, their future, and I knew, I'm like, this isn't going to really go anywhere. And can you guys still hear me when it's not in my mouth?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because it's like, yeah. So I'm at MFF 2009. It was my first time in a full suit there, and I spent all con suiting. I mean, I like did not take that thing off. Well, I mean, I did, not, you know, I did, just never when he was around. It was his first con. He was at Michigan Tech in college, and Amato was a roommate of his who lived in the attic. The crawl space. And I guess Tyzin made his first suit and made it more for a Halloween thing. But, you know, he put all this time into it and was like, I wonder if there's any other ways that I can wear this around. And he starts looking up stuff and finds furries.
It was in the process of actually making the suit that I saw these pictures, and there's like this line of people in these costumes, and I'm like, what is going on? Those are really good costumes, but I don't get it. And that's kind of how I stumbled upon the fandom, was trying to make my own Halloween costume. But it just kind of went from there. And it was more than a Halloween costume to me. It was more of a, you know, you kind of how you develop your own persona, that type of thing. It was me trying to develop that and trying to portray that character more, and found out there were more people like that. And that was really cool. And so I rushed to get this suit done, trying to get it put together for Halloween. And then I saw that convention was coming up. And it was really to get it ready for that convention more so. I had never met any other people before, and saw a little bit, like communicated with them a little bit online beforehand, but it was just kind of a, you know, winging it. People say don't go to a con your first meet, you know, meet up with some other people before that. I didn't do that, but I don't regret that. It was fun.
Hi, Deborah. We're just talking about porn.
Why do you think
I'm kidding. So we're at MFF. I'm running around in suit. This was at the old hotel, and at that hotel they had like a little restaurant venue that was like kind of con space for food. And I get in there and I see my current boyfriend at the time talking to him. And he's like, "Oh, you gotta meet this guy. His name's Tyzin. He likes computers. Blah blah blah." I'm like, "Hi, bye." I leave and I go sitting some more. So he didn't get to really see me or anything like that. The only time he actually saw me was when I finally went into the Headless Lounge and I took the head off and I'm sweaty and gross, but my smile's like ear to ear. And he said like that was it. He's like, that was the moment he knew he had something for me. He can't tell me that because I'm already dating somebody. You know, he was a good guy and wasn't pushy and you should cheat on him with me type thing. So, you know, after the con, we talked a little bit more over the Michigan fur forums that no longer exist. And, you know, I was making meats. At the time, I was living with Andrew. And I made a lot of meats that way. And I think Tyzin knew the only way he could get somewhat close to me in a non-sexual way, just to be close to me, was to try out like a master-pet relationship, which he had no experience in, and I was kind of a little vanilla at it. I had a master-type person, but it was one of those things. So his thing was, you know, at the next meet coming up, I would like to make this a formal occasion, and I would like to collar you in front of everybody. And he ordered me a collar with my name on it at the time, which was Little Chi Wolf at the time. It got sent to my parents' house. And at that time, my mom, my family and I don't get along very well, and my mom was going through my mail, which is completely illegal, but it's my mom and she didn't care. And she opened it up, I guess, when I was at work, and I get home and I'm like, "Mom, have you gotten a package?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I've gotten a package." I'm like, "Can I have it?" "No." "Why?" "It's none of that. It's that furry crap and it's blah and fetish and the typical parent stuff." I get online. I had to sneak online. I had to wait for them to go to bed, plug my computer in because they blocked me from and passworded everything, and I would have to plug my computer in, kind of do a little hacking thing just to get online to talk to him and let him know what was going on. He was very upset about the whole thing and wanted to talk to my mom, and I think you sent her like a very formal email. And did she ever reply to you?
There was a short response. I can't recall exactly what was said with that, but yeah, it was a short response about it, and it kind of just, she was talking about her worries about all that stuff and stuff she didn't really understand about, so she was scared of it, and the typical parent protective
Yep.
stuff.
So we didn't, I don't think we got that collar until you met her, or what, did I go with Andrew and we got that back?
I think it was before.
It's about the time we were freeing you from the shadow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we finally got it back. We ended on a very uncomfortable note. My mom, talks to me occasionally, but it's very quick. How are you? Cool. And then nothing for like 6 months type thing. But, for me more for us to have that freedom of, we want to make this work, I had to distance myself from family. And I know that's very hard for people, especially in the fandom, and want to be in relationship with someone else in the fandom. You get that, well, my parents are going to think that I'm a total weirdo because I'm dating someone else in the fandom, and they think that we're just going to go screw animals and have these giant orgies, and that's immediately what pops into their head.
We don't have a desert around here.
And that was my mom's worry. Oh, you're going to date this furry guy who, has no job and, is not a doctor and is not going to make millions. And in my mind, I didn't want to date the doctor. I do not want to get plastic surgery and have fake boobs and be a trophy wife. I don't want to do that stuff. Well, it's not about the money. And my mom is in that type of relationship where she does not work. She got a tummy tuck to be with it. He's had, 8 affairs on her. And she stays with him because she has nowhere to go. So she got a tummy tuck. She got like a boob lift. She tanned. She gets her hair professionally. All the stuff she never used to do when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my mom had the bun and overalls. That's what she wore. She was a size 12, typical mom, cleaned the house. And now she's the fancy, mom that she always talked about she never wanted to be. But you could tell deep down she envied the people with money that, sacrificed their life to have money. So, other than that, with my mom, whatever, it's my mom, that's her choice. I don't have to deal with it anymore. So, Jared and I continued on from talking to each other online. I found out, my current relationship was not working. It just wasn't working. But we stayed good friends, and I told Jared, I'm no longer with this specific person. It's not because I'm going to fling myself to you. That wasn't the case at all. I just knew for my future it was not going to work. So he made plans to come over. I was living in Dameron at the time. We made plans to see each other, and I was drawing a bunch of little cutesy arts at the time, and he comes over, the doorbell rings, I open the door, I don't see anybody. I'm like, the hell? Here he poking around the corner, his hands are in his pockets. He's like, I made it. I'm like, oh my God, you're so cute. I made a bunch of pasta with a bunch of meat in it. Oh, I'm vegan. Fuck. He's like, I'll eat it anyway. It's not that I don't like meat. It was just a choice at the time. I'm like, okay, cool. He eats pasta, lays down on the carpet. I ask all cute. I'm like, can I lay with you? Sure. Lay down next to him. Can I hold your hand? Sure. Holding hand awkwardly, laying like starfish, kind of looking at each other. We talked for 4 hours. Andrew gets home from work. What are you guys doing? Laying on the carpet? Oh, sweet, I'm going to join you. Red Dead Redemption. He came over not just to hang out with me, but we made plans. Hyper was holding a meet where we went to Dave & Buster's and went to a hotel and all that stuff. And that's at the time when we weren't thinking of dating. That's when he was going to do the whole master pet thing, and that wound up not happening. So, we have a couple days hanging out. I showed him around. It was Brighton, Michigan, and the town over there is really cute. So we bar hopped, and I showed him around town. I showed him the little walk thing around the river. I forget what it's called now.
The duck with the fro?
Yeah, there was a duck with a fro. And, we just hung out, got to know each other a little bit more. Things got a little cuter. The first night was the best. I'm like, so, couch or join me in my bed? And he was actually very gentleman. He slept on the couch. And it was like a couple nights after that where like I'm sleeping on the bed and it's probably late in the night and I feel someone crawl into me, and at first I thought it was Andrew because he did that all the time. And I'm like, hi, Drew. That's not Drew. Oh, it's Tyzin. And we cuddled and spooned, and it was cute. And he, poor guy, probably had the worst blue balls ever. But
That's a given.
and it was just cute. And then it wasn't until like the last night before he had to leave, where in my mind I'm like, this is going to work. I've never felt this way out of everyone I've dated. And I've done some desperate dates just because I didn't like the feeling of being alone. 15 minutes of feeling loved felt better than not being loved at all. And, I'm not afraid to admit that when I was 21, I probably spent a year sleeping with way too many people. And it was just that feeling of acceptance, because in school, you're the fat girl, I don't want to be around you. You're the fat girl, I don't want to be around you. All of a sudden, I lose a bunch of weight, and everyone who made fun of me was like, now I want to sleep with you. But that's it. And, it's something in my past where I was like, God, I regret ever doing that. But if I think about it, if I wouldn't have gone through that path, we probably would have never met at all. If I would have followed what Mommy said, we would have never met. So that last night together, sparks flew, and he said, I love you, and it's been stuck ever since. And when he was still at school, so he'd drive 10 hours just to come see me one time he drove 10 hours to see me for one day. Because I was really depressed that he was gone. And he just came out just to hang out with me for a couple hours, just to go to sleep and get up and drive back to Michigan Tech again. So.
Don't remember that.
So, it's been a struggle. He pushed me to go to college. I didn't want to go to college. Well, it's more I felt like I couldn't go. I wanted to go to equestrian school. My parents always said, no, there's no money in that. But it's what I wanted to do, but they weren't going to pay for it or support it. And it was hard for me as someone who, I'm the only child that graduated high school. I'm the only child that went to college. My older brothers, deal pot and sell drugs, yet she would do anything for them and kind of spit on me. And it was, I have a little brother who, when he was born, he was the golden child that they could not mess up on. Paid for his school, made me quit horses so they could support his sports and all of this stuff. So it was heartbreaking. I felt like I had no one to give me the push. So I felt like I was just stuck in a bad situation, and I was going to be that way. My father's like that, and I haven't talked to him in 12 years now, and he talks to me through his wife that I've never met before over Facebook that won't even let me see her face, which is weird, creepy. So I've been through a lot of, BS, and I had some depression. I had some thoughts of just quitting, and just, I'm like, why keep going through this? This to me isn't living. I'd rather not live through this. I'd rather just be somewhere else. And really, Tyzin has saved me mentally. And, I get, weight-wise, I fluctuate a lot. I'll be like on a good path and then gain weight again, and on a good path. And he never brings me down. Unlike my mom would be like, well, you're fat. No one wants you like that. You need to do this, this, and this. Why it never changes. He's always like, good morning, beautiful, I love you. You know, things like that where I don't have to think, oh my God, I'm gaining weight and he's going to yell at me because I'm drinking pop again. He doesn't do that kind of stuff. He knows that I will do something about it when I do something about it. It's not like, you must do this now, And that's the type of support I need. I need the push, but not too much to where I freak out because it gets overwhelming. And to me, in a relationship-wise, that's like a huge key. Communication, trust, and, you know, the support, but not so much support that you have to rely on that person, because you don't want to be, you know, a mooch, but not so less that you feel like you're struggling so hard that it's not even worth being in that relationship in the first place. You know, there's a balance for everybody, and everyone likes something a little different. You know, maybe some people want to be supported. Maybe some people, you know, want to be a little, you know, controlled more in the relationship. Everyone's a little bit different. I like the relationships where people go, you know, yes, you can, and I will help you as much as I can, but you still have to learn to do it yourself. That's what I enjoy. Go ahead.
So how many of you are currently looking for somebody? So we got a few. So for me, and maybe I'm a little bit different with this, but as I was growing up, I wasn't really, you know, people would be like, oh, look at that girl, she's so hot. And I'm just like, okay, but she's probably a bitch, whatever. You know, I never really focused so much on it was more important to know who somebody was rather than basically what they were, that type of thing. And I put a lot of emphasis on that. For a long-term relationship especially, you need to understand who the person is underneath the skin, who they are as a person, and be able to live with that person and understand them. So when I first talked to and interacted with Sheila, a lot of it was, you know, when she was in suit, when she was talking online, things where she was just very honest about herself, and that gave me a chance to know who she was on the inside, and I think that really helped me in making my decision to be with her. Just knowing straightforward, there aren't any of these secrets, or you know, there's none of these the lies or you know, faking who you are, that type of thing. So you know, when the opportunity was given to start that relationship, I was less hesitant to be afraid of not knowing who that person was and be able to jump into it. And that's something that I think is one of the most important parts of our relationship is that understanding of each other, who we are, what our goals are in life, what our expectations are out of life, and things like that, and really knowing who we are. Another side of it is not only knowing who that person is, but knowing who you are as well. Having, you know, your life goals set, know what you want out of life, who you want to be as a person, and being honest with yourself with that too. A lot of people, they haven't figured that out yet. You know, I have a younger brother who's just like that. He doesn't really have that drive of knowing who he is, and that was something that kind of developed with me as our relationship grew. I found out that as we grew together in our relationship, that idea of who I want to be solidified. It wasn't just this goal. It's, I can start being this person and creating that. So I like to be, you know, I aspire to have more confidence, which has definitely helped me gain. I aspire to be honest, very honest and open. I'm always pushing for communication. She can attest to that. I want to know what's going on. I'm looking for some reassurance. I like to know that I'm going in the right direction with things. And sometimes I'll push that a little bit too much. She'll get a little bit annoyed with me asking questions all the time. It's like, I just told you that. And it's like, well, I'm just trying to make sure. Right. But I don't know. I through her, I gained who I was and have been able to find out who she is as well, even more than what I knew before. So communication's huge. You know, it's not all image. You know, people change. The way you look changes as you go through life. I mean, you got to, if you want it to last a long time, know who they are. So, That's it for now.
So an example of, relationships being kind of flimsy here and there, especially early in a relationship, I notice when people get into like their first really big argument, that's like almost a deal breaker for a lot of people. They see how how the argument goes, and then they go, man, I just don't want to be with this person anymore. And instead of working it out, it's just like, I'm done. And they quit. They quit before the relationship can really actually start. Tyzin and I had a lot of battles. When we first started dating, because of how I was raised in my mom's views, and I wanted horses in my life. I grew up having horses. My grandma got me into horses. My grandma paid for all of this stuff. So for me to have horses and for me to have to pay for it, in my mind, I thought that was wrong. I thought, well, this is a hobby I enjoy. Someone else should pay for it for me, which was my mom's mentality as well. I grew up with that mentality, and at the time, that's what I was seeking. Somebody who's going to be stable in money, my mom's mentality, again, to pay for my hobbies. And we probably spent, at least until I went to college, 2 years of arguing with me, getting, pissed at him because he made it clear to me, I'm not paying for this hobby. And I was furious because I'm just like, well, I'm never going to have horses again because they're so goddamn expensive and stuff like that. And I'm never going to ride again, and it just sucks, and I hate life, and blah, 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 blah. We just, I graduated. Finally went to that equestrian college, and that equestrian college, it was very hands-on, and it was kind of step-by-step. You want to do these things, these are what you have to do to get to that point. And business-wise, it's shown me a lot of things to get to that point. And because now I understand the business aspect of this hobby, he's more willing to help me through it. Not pay for anything, but help me achieve the goal of it. And it's comforting to know that, because now I know financially I can budget for it and plan for it and eventually have this dream again of owning a horse and having my own farm. We just took a huge step on remodeling the home, and we sold it in one day. It sold Friday or Thursday, Wednesday.
Yesterday.
It sold in one day. We downgraded and went to an apartment, but this apartment, and now the house is going to be gone, is going to allow us to save not only for our wedding next year and our honeymoon, which we're going to Euro France for our honeymoon, to get a farm. And that's like, when I was younger, I'm like, I want this big friggin' 50-stall barn. You see all these huge farms they're so beautiful, and they make it look so easy. And then you look at what goes into them and how much they cost and taxes, and it's like, Jesus. And people are like, with those type of businesses, you have to have money to make money, is their quote, to have something like that. So my goal went from that to, I just want a little farm with 5 stalls in it, have my own horse, and we can board out the other 4. And I can ride my horse through the woods, and he can take his goddamn motorcycles, because that's what he wants. So I downgraded the goal a lot, but we're working together to achieve that goal instead of, my old mentality where I'd be like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you giving me what I want? Blah, 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 blah. Because now I don't think that way anymore. I'm like, I want this, but let's do it together to gain that goal.
Yep.
And
for the longest time, she was on edge about. She had some doubts of the relationship because I wasn't into horses as much as she was. I didn't want to change my job from engineering and go and train horses. It's like, that's not my thing. I'm not that good at that. You have this natural talent for it, which she didn't see at the time, but I could see. And I was like, that wouldn't make sense. That would put us both in a financial situation that wouldn't really work out that well. And while I'm doing the engineering and stuff like that, the way I choose to help her is, I'm going to have to buy a house eventually now, whether that's a farmhouse or a regular house in the city, whatever. It's still going to happen either way. So the way I help is okay, we're going to go and we're going to look for a farmhouse, and we'll help you pursue your dream as well. Maybe open up a business with that, do some boarding. And when I first proposed that idea, it didn't really sink in as a realistic idea to her. It took some time to really grow on her, to understand, okay, it's a better idea because it's more realistic. You know, having more realistic goals is you got to understand the limitations that you have, and always work to gain more, but you know, set those realistic goals that are achievable. I mean, you won't just go from nothing to a 50-stall barn and overnight or anything like that. It's just not realistic. So, understanding how the market works, understanding, you know, the nature of the horse world. She gained a lot of that from school, and I think that helped her in understanding what was realistic and what wasn't.
Yeah, that was a tough realization too, because also growing up, I was, huge into anime, huge into fantasy movies, huge into all of that stuff that made life look so easy. And I'm like, this could be freaking great. This
Makes
could be
food
awesome
look
growing
delicious.
up. What?
Makes food look delicious.
Yes. Oh God, anime food. Oh. I set those expectations up for my life. I'm like, I'm going to graduate, find the man of my dreams, and have everything I want. Boom. Like, I thought it was going to be that. I'm going to be 21 and have all this cool stuff and a new car, and that wasn't happening. So I was like, oh, well, this really sucks. And that was like the biggest, besides family, that was a huge divot in like mentally wise. I felt so stuck. Like, how do people do this? How do some people work 3 jobs just to own, a crappy car in a 1-bedroom apartment? Like, I'm just like, Jesus, this is, and I understand where college comes in for certain things. You study certain things to prep your future financially and things like that. And, I still studied what I wanted to study, which was horses, which doesn't make a lot of money and is very hard to, it's very hard to get into because it's very, very political, especially right now with, well, no, not just that. Horses is getting harder to get into as a business for showing because the animal abuse supporters. There is, unfortunately, a lot of abuse in horse training for show horses, and because of that, it's harder to get a job in it because people don't know if you're, working for PETA or something like that. People just don't want to change their perspective of training because time is money. To train a horse correctly takes a lot of time. You got 60 horses under your belt that need to be shown in 30 days.
Shortcuts.
The easiest way to do it is to beat them into it, and unfortunately that happens a lot. So, and unfortunately there's a lot of people out there with money that don't care. They just want to sit pretty and make money, and it sacrifices the horse's well-being. So when, I told myself when I start my thing, when I'm teaching kids how to ride or adults that want to get back into it, I'm like, you're not riding for the ribbon. You're riding for the teamwork with your horse and to have a good ride. And that's how I see it. And there's some people that just are like, they see that as a waste of money because they just want a ribbon and trophies and stuff like that. But it's totally off relationship. I got kind of horsey-ish. Sorry.
She likes horses.
I guess, how much time do we got?
About a half hour.
Half hour? 2:30. Oh, we did start a little bit early. I guess we can start a little bit early with any questions or anything. If you guys have any questions for us, or if you want to bring up something about your spouse or your goals and any type of advice that we could give you to help, we'll do our best from our point of view. You don't have to take that advice, but it's always worth asking a question. So anybody have anything? Yeah, Moran?
Do you ever find that there's needs that either one of you have, but you find that the other can't satisfy that you might fulfill? And satisfy those needs, maybe not necessarily with each other, but with the possibility of polyamory?
I'm not going to say it's more of, I guess it needs in ways like the horse stuff, for example. I have a need and want for horses, and he's not just going to give it to me. To satisfy that need, I could go take riding lessons or something like that.
Real quick on that. So
Yeah.
do you have your friends that are go-tos that maybe your partner can't help you with, that you have other support?
I unfortunately don't. A lot of the people, horse-wise, I grew up with have either quit horses or they're so deep into it they don't even have time to talk to you about it. I have no one that I can go to ride. There's not a lot of riding lessons places that'll even let me ride because there is a lot of weight restrictions. A big belief is a horse should only carry about 20% of its body weight. That includes human and saddle. If you were to add my weight in the saddle, for most horses, I'm over that 20%. So I can't even, crave the riding need at a lot of places.
But if that opportunity is given, I mean, there's a lot of freedoms that are given in a relationship. I'm into motorcycles; she's not.
Yeah.
When she wants to go and hang out with her old horse Clue up north, I mean, she's gone up there on the weekend to hang out with them without me, and there's this trust that's built in. So a trust has to be there for a steady relationship. That she's going off, and I completely trust her. I'm not worried about anything with that. And same thing with the motorcycle. I've gone on motorcycle trips without her, and she's fine with it. Maybe mostly, I'm assuming, but yeah.
Sometimes I get annoyed if he's been at work a lot and all of a sudden he's going to take a weekend motorcycle trip, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just going to play ARC with Zeke for days on end.
Yep.
But Dameron, also with your question now, if I was to flip that in a more of a sexual question of needs, there is not much needs. It's more fantasies that I would love to fulfill, but I won't, because even if we were open to it, in the back of my mind, there's so much of a letting my partner down or a cheating aspect in the back of my mind that I couldn't follow through with it, or if I did, over time, I would feel horrible about it. In the past, it wouldn't have bothered me, but we're so deep in our relationship right now, I feel like I am willing to sacrifice these fantasies to keep the joy of my partner and then that trust.
So on the flip side here, how do you feel?
When it comes to that, and from this side of it, it's more so there should be communication there, obviously. If this is something that you're interested, communicate it, understand it, know where your limitations are, what you feel comfortable with. We've had some of these conversations and come to this consensus with it. It's not to say that those conversations won't happen again in the future, but that openness needs to be there to discuss it, not just hide it. Otherwise, those things can just eat away at a relationship from behind. It's you gotta get that out in the open and be honest with it, and which we have done and probably will continue to do in the future.
Yeah.
So if you were to break down something like that, what would you say would be an important values in the statement for a couple to have?
As far as like,
What the needs would be to keep the relationship strong, but express that you have those needs and desires without causing problems. Would it be trust?
definitely trust. Yeah, understanding what their intentions are with it. What's driving this want, and maybe to understand, am I not giving something? I want to understand, is there something that I can do better with those type of things? Some things I'm just not good at. You talk about like doming or anything like that. It's just not my mentality with that as much. It's just I don't fit that bill. Now, if that's something that she really wanted to go through, if we discussed that, would I be okay with somebody else doing that? We'd have to talk through it and understand how we would feel from it.
Communication.
Yes, communication. Communication, trust. maybe a couple other things. What do you think?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yay, wonderful. Really, I don't have a lot to say because, I mean, they pretty much elaborated on everything. But one thing I really want to say is, for people that are looking, just love yourself. Like, you have to appreciate yourself first. Because in a lot of relationships I was in the past, I would play silly games just to see if they would do something I want them to do, or I would not tell them things that I wanted, and it just boiled down to me not appreciating them because I didn't appreciate myself. I was like, wow, I'm a terrible person. Why am I doing this? But I kept doing it. And I don't exactly know why. Maybe because I didn't actually love these people, and I thought I did. For a while, it got to a point where I'd given up on relationships. I was like, maybe this is good enough. Maybe this is all relationships are. Maybe people just settle with enough likenesses and then put up with everything else. And then I started working on me. I stopped working on a relationship I was in, and I started working on me. I was like, well, I really like dancing. That's what I want to do. So I started focusing on dancing and got my own fursuit and started going to dance competitions and having a good time and all that. And I love those cons. And I noticed that the more I started to appreciate myself and be honest and open with who I am and my own faults, the more other people started to appreciate me and actually express that. And that just boils down to, I mean, once I finally found someone, I just knew. It was very different because I knew who I was then, and it had nothing to do with who I used to be. And now that I appreciated and love myself, I understood what I needed to do to keep this person.
Good job, Donut. Such a good donut. Donut's completely right with that. Another example of that will be another aspect of myself. Again, with how I was raised, how I was treated at school, being the big girl, stuff like that. Because image, especially when you're in school, is so huge, what you wear, what you look like, and then you see all the groups of people, and you actually kind of notice that sometimes in the fandom too. You see made-for-you suits over here, certain suits over there, stuff like that. And you see people in groups, which always, would put in my mind, are people really wanting to get the suit for the style or to be accepted by people that have those suits type thing. When you break that down into people in general, are people really wanting to hang out with these people to be accepted by these people, or just hanging out just because? For me, especially as a bigger girl, and bigger girls still get stigma today, not as bad. I see a lot of I see a lot more social media on, thick girls, curves, that's starting to become like a thing now. But there's still a stigma. It's like, we want you thick and curvy, but if you have a little bit of a hanging belly, that's not curvy, you're still gross. Being raised around the stigma of what a woman should look like versus what they really do look like, as a woman, you never feel perfect. You feel like you're constantly battling the stigma of what a girl looks like through these people's eyes. So I hated myself. I hated myself for the longest time. I brought myself down a lot. I couldn't wear what all these other girls wear. I couldn't shop where they shopped. I got a lot of hand-me-downs. I remember in middle school, for the guys, it was all about Tommy Hilfiger. Tommy Hilfiger, and you had to have the little belt loop thing with the chain hanging on your pants. That was huge. My brothers wore that stuff, and because I was so desperate to fit in, the next school year they just gave me their pants and were like, here, you can have a moment of feeling cool. But then it wasn't about Tommy Hilfiger anymore. It was about BB and Hollister and Abercrombie, and so I was always outdated with all the stuff and never got accepted for what I was wearing and who I was as a person. I was always definitely the weird kid. I remember getting after-school detentions and for not doing homework or something like that. And everyone else is sitting twiddling their thumbs, and there's me setting up chairs and jumping over them like a horse. And everyone was like, what's wrong with her? She's not normal. But I didn't want to be like everybody else. It's so boring. I'm like, you know, it's so, I'm just like, why can't people just be silly and have fun? And it's just, it's hard. I would do the most, not horrible things, but just out there things that always got me in trouble. I always got in trouble for being, you know, in that case, weird. And in my mind, it's unique. There's no one else like me. I'm very one of a kind. Not everybody can be Tina. And being me and being around people that like me for me has really made me appreciate myself as a person. I get up to my room, there's a bunch of people in there hanging out up there. I'll just be in there and I'll be like, fuck these pants, rip off my shirt, walk around naked, and everyone's, well, there's Tina again. And I don't care anymore, you know. My boobs aren't happy and perky, they sag down. I got a hanging belly, I got a big butt, and I'm just like, fuck you guys. And I noticed learning to just not care about it and flaunt it and love it makes everyone else like, I totally dig this girl. They're not looking at me for what I look like, they're looking at me for the fun and joy I bring and the scarring I put into their brain.
From the other side, it's difficult because she's had times where, you know, she'll have these bouts of depression and not be happy with how she looks, and it's really important to be supportive of her in those situations, and oftentimes it's like you can tell it's just going in one ear and out the other, not listening to you. But I mean, it's important just to keep hammering away at that and let them understand you are loved, you are beautiful, and it's hard for them to accept it. But over time, it starts to etch in, and they start to understand that you love them for who they are, not for who you expect them to be or anything like that. So that's, I mean, it's taken I've been working on it for 6 years and still working on it as well, and we'll continue to work on it for the rest of our lives, really.
Yeah, we have moments of, you know, where I'll get back into that typical human mindset where I'm just like, oh God, I'm so fat today, blah, and then I'm just like, why do I even care about that anymore? I'm not trying to impress anybody, and Jared's the only one that really looks at me from a daily basis, and to him, no matter what size I am, as long as I'm healthy, I'm perfect. And you know, I would love to someday do a panel for even women in the furry fandom that are very self-conscious about themselves, not just in the fandom, but outside of everything, you know, how to help, you know, fight the stigma that people try to throw at people. And, you know, even with guys, too, you know, there's, you know, bigger guys out there that are just so self-conscious, especially, you know, guys that are gay. I've read a lot of, you know, gay guy stigma of where, oh my God, if you don't have a super buff body, no one's gonna love you. And I'm like, that's horrible. Like, that's exactly what us girls go through too. If you're not skinny with big fake boobs, no guy's gonna love you. And no one should be treating anybody like that. You're all people deep inside. If you look at even some of the models of today, when they're not photoshopped and covered with makeup, some of them are covered in zits, they have blemishes, they have birthmarks, all this stuff that is hidden away because that's you know, almost like a taboo to have on your body, but that's not what a real body is. And, you know, relationship wise, if you're setting your standards for the person on the, you know, cover, you're not really setting yourself up for a real person in the first place.
If you want it to last long, it's got to be up here. You got to love the person for who they are on the inside.
Yep.
You've got these terms nowadays. People are calling it kink shaming or body shaming. It's the new word that everybody uses nowadays. Before it was bullying, and just like fads and vanity, all the trends change. And as we become more politically correct as a nation, people will find new ways to put other people down. It sucks.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point where now there's documentaries about everything. Like the new one that just came out that I linked you the other day about the pup community, and I'm like, you know, the comments are ridiculous. There's this one guy on there, super redneck guy, who's just like, this is the reason why America's so bad. These are the people that need to be burned and put away. And, you know, I went to his profile because the dumbass has his profile all public, and it's just like, redneck, hunting Jesus. And I'm like, good God. And you know, and he's just bashing me. He's, because, you know, my profile picture is this, and he's like, oh, you're one of those fur fags. A typical, you know, and I don't argue back. I'm just like, you know, all I just say is, at least I'm enjoying life. You know, and I'm enjoying life with my partner. I have way more friends in here than I have ever had in school. I talked to one person from my school. One person who still talks to me out of the people that I hung out with. And in the furry community, no one has ever left. Like maybe the couple people that would come, oh, I'm just hanging out with you because of your parties type things. But other than that, like, if I need to get a hold of somebody for something, they're like, boom, right there. I had, you know, well, you know, I'll put this even with relationships with your friends. Last week, I originally was going to have a fursuit making day at our apartment. People come over, help sew, learn how to make a little bit of fursuits and stuff. All these people were all like, yeah, we're going to come over and do that. And then Jared's like, I need to get that house sold. You know, we need to get it on the market. And I was like, oh, I'm going to change this into a house making, a house rebuilding party. And no one's going to show up because no one wants to work on that kind of stuff. Everybody was like, yeah, I'll come. And we had like
10
12 people there working on the house, working their asses off. And that's the kind of shit where I'm just like, sorry, stuff. I swear a lot. I'm sorry. Oops.
Sorry.
That you know, the dedication of people that help, you know, even people that are, you know, they're having tough times themselves, and they still come over to help. I'm just like, holy crap. You know, and luckily he's got some really cool parents that treated him all to pizza, bought him booze, you know, that kind of stuff just for helping out. And his parents rock. Yeah, his parents are freaking cool.
Parents accept the whole furry fandom.
They
might even show up this weekend.
Yeah, they might come up Sunday for the wedding.
Please don't scare them.
Yeah, please don't.
No problem. Make sure to be on your best.
Yeah.
No humping.
No touching.
I also do want to take this quick moment to say for our real wedding next year, I have decided to blend reality with furry in it because I've been to so many weddings that are just weddings that I'm like, ugh, I don't want my wedding like this. It's boring. So we are going to do a little blended wedding. I ask everyone to dress nice for the actual wedding part of it. And I'm going to make individual tiny tails that are going to be on the back of each chair. So when you sit down, everyone has a little tail on.
Do buttons count as nice?
A motto. Just wear your flask over your crotch. Perfect.
Just saying. Buttons as a forester.
Yeah. But for the reception part of it, the only reason I'm not having fursuits in the actual wedding part of it is because his grandparents on his mother's side are really hardcore Baptists. We don't want to terrify them.
They don't know about the
furry thing. They're very anti a lot of things. So to make them comfortable, we're gonna, you know, keep it normal for the first part, and then for the reception, it's basically furry rave. And you know, it would be nice if a lot of people wanted to come and enjoy it, and I think it would be a first time for a lot of weddings.
So before we wrap this up, I know we're running out of time here. Any questions that anybody wanted to ask? I want to give that opportunity. Yes, Amato.
Hasn't it been like 30-something years? I was close.
July 13th.
Nice.
And we are also partners with Sugar for 4 years.
Oh, shoot. Amato, did I see a hand up?
I think I have a question, yes.
Oh, okay.
So, knowing Tyzin and knowing where you come from, Michigan Tech, a land of the shy, snowbound nerd, where did you come up with the confidence to court Sheila?
Actually, a lot of that, I was still shy. Our first couple of years, we were dating.
So shy.
I just kind of like stuck to her hip and followed her around wherever she went.
Oh my God.
And I didn't really talk much. I'm not much of a talker.
Michigan Tech
Normally,
does that to you.
Glued to me.
Yes.
I mean, we were at FCN and we never left the bedroom. Glued to me.
There was that one, yeah. But most of it's been developing over time. She's helped me develop myself and my confidence, things like that. And yeah, you got to be brave enough to take that first step, to initiate something, to try something new. I wasn't necessarily afraid to try something new, but afraid of failing, definitely. I don't like to fail. And yeah, just you got to take that initial step and work through it. And sometimes that confidence just comes with time and experience.
And be yourself.
Yes,
Be yourself. Do not fake for anybody because you never know if they're really going to love you.
Famous words of Jeannie.
Definitely.
Be yourself.
It's funny, they're all talking about taking the first step and everything, and everyone's first impression of the first step is like going up to someone and being like, will you be on a date with me, or do you like me, or and it's like, no. My first step with Damie was I made a dance video for him. That was what I do. I like dancing, so I was like, I'm gonna make a dance video for him. And he was like, oh, that's really sweet of you. Do you want to hang out sometime? And I was like, oh my God, yes, please.
Attention!
I know. We did, when did we do our first actual date? It was like, how many months? We were like, hey, let's go see a movie together.
We met at MCFC, and then we kind of visited a few times. We went to AC and ran into each other, but we still weren't really dating.
I was kind of glued to you at AC though, because I was like, I was all sad at the time and a weird, depressed person, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not having any fun. I didn't make it into the dance competition. I'm a terrible person. And so then I just kind of followed you around the whole con.
All right, Wayne back there.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't have a question, but I just wanted to say that a couple of things that you guys said clicked in my head and rang some bells, make sense. Thank you.
I'm a thinker. That's what I do. Thank you. On the left there.
You mean you were right?
Dragon wants to say something.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi there.
Well, before I ask anything, I just want to say with me and my girlfriend here, it's kind of freaky that a lot of the stuff you say you guys have been going through over the years, like a lot of that we've already been through ourselves. So it's like the parallels are just like, woo, Twilight Zone.
Twilight
It's
Zone.
definitely it's never perfect. It's never this fantasy. You're
Right.
always working through these difficulties.
Right, and that's another thing that, like, would you agree that the key to a really good relationship is that you can be friends with someone and romantic, but more focused on being that strong friend too?
Yeah, definitely. Sheila is my best friend. I would say, bar none, she's my best friend, who I would confide in if I have any questions, anything really. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think they definitely have to be your friend. You have to be able to get along with them, and then more develops from that friendship.
Thank you guys. You guys are awesome.
You're welcome.
So yeah, and that's another thing. You talk about how taking the first step, hang out with the person, get to know them, be friends with them. Develop this relationship. It's not this, oh, I like you. I want to go date with you. I want to go on a date with you right away. No, it's be friends with them first. Don't push something like that. Just and you'll feel it too if it's meant to be. If you want to pursue that further as you get to know them, it starts with that friendship. So that definitely is a must.
Your tummy gets the rumblies that only hands can satisfy.
All right, any more questions before we wrap this up? All right. Well, thank you everybody for your time and for joining our panel. If you have any further questions, she's online more than me, but obviously we're there somewhere in the fandom. So feel free to ask us questions about it. We're more than happy to share and with our experiences and our relationship. Thank you.